Hello everyone. Today we will start with Lesson 1 of Unit 2, The Seventh Man. Our objective is to be able to analyze the text and describe the plot with efficacy. Please open your books on page 132. Take 5 minutes to read about the author. As you notice, Murakami had a flash of inspiration while attending a baseball game, during which he decided that he could write a novel. So, what you need to know here is that the story is told in flashback. A flashback is an episode that interrupts the action of the story's plot to show an experience that happened at an earlier time. As you finish, and before you start reading the text, move to the concept words and note how familiar you are with each word. Then, rank the words in the chart in order from the most familiar to the least familiar. The writer's purpose in writing The Seventh Man is to entertain readers. The story is not trying to inform the readers about anything, nor persuade, because the author didn't use any persuasion in the story. We've all read stories in which a violent turn of events, a heart attack, a car crash, or an earthquake, result in an individual's sudden death. However, how do the survivors who are left behind recover? Think of a tragic event that you experienced or that you know about from the news. Think about their lasting effects on the survivors. Think of resources or methods that you think might help the survivors recover from their difficult experiences. In The Seventh Man, the main character describes the troubles and victories he experienced following a devastating childhood tragedy. Reading pages 133, 134, 135, and 136. Read the given pages. As you can see, the short story, The Seventh Man, by Murakami, is narrated in the first person because most of it consists of the seventh man telling his story to the group of people huddled in the house. The seventh man tells his story in a serious tone, empty of humor and lightness. His words are laden with dark sadness and grief from what he has had to experience as a young child. Because of this, the seventh man's perspective is clouded with grief and regret for not saving his friend when he was able to, and that made him even more biased. It is important for this story to be mostly in the first-person point of view, because only in first-person narration can the speaker reveal his thoughts through his own words, and also first-person narration provides a more intimate connection between the reader and the speaker. This connection helps us to empathize with the speaker and understand on a deeper level what the main character is going through. Respond to the following questions. Question number 1. Mark details in paragraph 2 that describe where the action takes place. Question number 2. What can you tell about the story's setting? What details about the setting are left unclear? Question number 3. What is the mood or feeling that the annotated details create? Answers of the questions. Answer number 1. As we read paragraph 2, we notice that the second and the third sentences, the hands of the clock had moved past 10, and the wind tearing through the darkness outside, show that the story is set at night during a storm. Answer number 2. We can see that the story is set during a storm late at night, sometime past 10 o'clock, but none of the details tell us the actual place where the story is set. We also don't know the year in which the story takes place. Maybe we'll learn these details later in the story. Answer number 3. The details create a feeling of fear. After all, the trees are shaking and the windows are rattling. We can describe the mood as ominous, gloomy, and scary. So, based on what we discussed in the first part of the story, the short story The Seventh Man is primarily consisted of a flashback into a man's childhood, which then continues into a retelling of the man's life until the present. The story begins with a group of men sitting in a house, listening to the seventh man, who never once mentions his name in the story, as he recounts the story of his life. He starts from his childhood and introduces his childhood best friend, whom he anonymously calls Kay. He describes him and his depictions, explains how important Kay was and how much he meant to him. After the seventh man briefly describes the wave, he tells what happened before the wave changed the rest of his life. At the end of this session, you have to respond to the given practice on page 137. The practice is divided into 3 types of questions: annotate, WH questions, and inference. Thank you and have a good day.